Good afternoon, sister.
Good afternoon, Sandra.
We have to think about the structure because it directs on how the business will be running, right from the reporting lines and how the activities will be going on. Because, sister, remember the top management, like say the MD who is up there, will be given directives from the board and he will push them down to the heads of department who have managers. So the managers will have a way of implementing them with the people who are at the bottom line there. That is the reason why we have a structure, sister.
Okay. So does that mean that any structure can be applicable to any organization? Do you understand what I mean?
No, sister.
Does it have to look like that?
No. Because we have those organizations, say like a restaurant where we have the owner that gives just the directives and we have a few people just right below them. The structure is supposed to be entailed as per the way the organization is going to be run, because not all of them will have a vertical, some will have a horizontal one, where it's just one person and giving instruction to so many people. Then we have a vertical one where we have so many people up that directing directives down to the very last person.
Thank you, Sandra. Do you have another thought?
Hello, sister.
Yes, please.
Organizational structure, I would refer to it, I would define it as in how activities or tasks and responsibilities are coordinated, controlled, delegated within an organization. Generally, it defines the hierarchy, the reporting relationship, the communication channels within an organization. That's how I would look at it.
Thank you, Teddy. I think those are very good explanations, which I cannot just take for granted. I think you have given it clearly that a structure helps us to see through how the organization activities are going to be run. And even when you bring about the reporting, that is very important because you're talking about who is in control, who makes this decision, and who oversees or determines or assesses when it comes to performance. That's basically what the two presenters have said, which is very true. So why do we, I think you have already answered it. I may not ask the same thing. So basically, an organizational structure is a set of rules, laws, relationships, and responsibilities that determine how a company activities should be directed to achieve goals. In other words, it determines how information that talks about communication, responsibility that talks about who is in charge, who is in control, or who is the implementer, and then authority who makes the decision will have to flow within your company. So by looking at the structure, I want you to be thinking about your business, how you are going to organize the nature of the work and the nature of the management to make sure that you really do it in a way that is going to help you achieve your goals. So by doing so, what factors do we have to put into perspective when we are designing a structure? Because I remember, I think Susan says, not all of them have to look like the one that we have seen, because there is this one which looks more in the hierarchy, but we are saying that not all of them may have to look like that. So if they don't all have to look that, and any organization need to have a structure, what are some of the factors that we need to consider when we are designing a structure for organization operation or for activities or for authority? What are some of the factors? Hello?
Hello, sister.
Yes, Tom.
Yeah, I think one factor that could be considered are the tasks that have to be performed.
Okay.
Yeah, similar tasks can be grouped together. And yeah, thank you.
And when you say similar tasks can be grouped together, which I agree with, what are you really having in mind that you have to put them together? What is so important?
People playing similar tasks can have the same authority and be at the same level of of authority and have the same they have this similar relationship, maybe relating to another or reporting to another structure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other members, what do you think? In other words, what you said, it may happen that they are working on the same project and they need the same kind of skill or technical aspect, and that puts them into that area to be able to coordinate and collaborate. Yes, Beatrice.
Thank you, sister. I think the size of the organization is important when you're considering the structure to use in the organization.
What's the first thing you said?
The size of the organization. If a company has different branches, they will have a different organizational structure compared to one which has a small business.
I agree with you. Thank you very much. Kenneth.
Sister, for me, I'm looking at the strategy of the company, considering what are the strategy of the company. If you are looking at maybe intensive marketing, that means the structure will have to include marketing personnel, something to do with that.
So in other words, they're looking at the functions that they do, so that can be grouped according to how their functions are. I agree with you. Rita.
I think we can look at the nature of the business, because I can give an example of an NGO and a company. A company might need marketeers for their business to run, but you realize in an NGO that a position is not there, it is not required.
Okay.
Thank you, I submit.
So when you talk about the nature, bring in perspective what she's trying to say. What is the purpose in relation to the goals and objectives of the organization? That's very true. Yes, Philip. Kenneth, your hand is still up. Do you have something more? Let's hear from Philip first.
I'm looking at the flow of communication. Most of the organizations consider communication, the flow of communication, whereby not everybody look at maybe an organization led by the MD, then the directors, then the senior managers, so they consider the flow of communication to reduce the communication gaps within the organization.
Absolutely, you're right. Communication, because the way the nature of the organization is organized can impact positively or negatively how communication will flow around decision-making, implementation, changes, all those factors is put into perspective. So that is a very important factor. I see those two still hands up. Are you still having something, Kenneth?
Yes, sister. I'm looking at decentralization and centralization. For example, companies which have branches or which have franchise. It depends. If you are centralized, for example, now as in Take Bakery, we are centralized, whereby all the branches we have around Uganda, they are following the same the same line. It's known that the branch manager, they are completely decentralized, that they are on their own. They all have to get orders from head office Kampala. However, if you find like the KFC, they are a bit decentralized, however much their franchise for KFC USA. I believe they're not getting orders from USA to do whatever they're doing here in Uganda.
Thank you. That is very, very important, because when you're thinking about, I think someone talked about it, the size. Some may be operational in regions, geographically, or located in different areas, and that could be the way the structure looks like when it comes to the decision-making, the communication. They need to be closer to where the operation is. So that is a factor in that aspect which you have to consider when you are designing them to be decentralized. That means there's some delegation of powers, yet when it is centralized, all the decisions, all the powers have to come from top down. So it's more hierarchy, yet in the other one, there is some responsibilities which are given to a certain level, though the top one stays to be accountable as the major. Thank you. You can see Sunday, Vincent, further.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking at the aspect of resource availability. When an organization has a problem of scarcity in terms of resources, especially financial resources, for example, say the human resources, in its structure of organization, it can have allocating the responsibilities to people so that they share the responsibilities, and then they reduce on the expenditure for human resource, that's in terms of salaries and wages. But if the organization has sufficient resources in terms of finances, then they can employ and have sufficient human resources such that the people are able to perform their roles and responsibilities without having to share. So the resource availability is also a factor that has to be considered in choosing the structure of an organization.
Very, very important factor, the cost of managing an organization in relation to the structures that you said, because it is not just a matter of putting those layers, but every layer that you add on, it is money. You are looking at personnel, every position that you create, that is a salary, that is a benefit. And once you put into all that consideration, then it is important to consider that you don't have duplication of positions, but you have to capitalize who can do it well and better efficiently to be able to maximize the outcome in regard to reducing the cost of having so many people almost doing the same job. And that goes in when you're looking at the human resource relation for recruitment and positioning employees in the structure, because that's where the human resource can advise on the managers, that is the CEOs and others, that we don't necessarily need this position, we don't necessarily need this person, this can do this and this, but you can realize that in every department, they have what? Every department, they have managers. Every department, they have a salesperson, they have operations manager, they have an officer for this, and yet all those are looking at the same goal. So that is what Father has put clearly. It is very, very important when you are designing the structure to see that it fits well in the objectives and goals of the organization, and it is reducing the cost. Okay. So, I think that puts it right, whereby you have clearly made it, or you have talked about the goals and objectives. They have to be aligned to ensure that whoever you have put in the structure, because when you're talking about the structure, we are looking at departments, we are looking at key people who are responsible for the functional areas. They understand clearly what are the goals and objectives of the company. We have already talked about the size, which you have also put up. So for the size, you realize that a small one, not necessarily if it is a non-profit, a charitable, may not operate as a corporation. A retail business may not operate as a medium size. So that is very, very important to know. Who do you need there? So that we are talking about personnel in relation to the activities. Responsibility, you have already discussed that. The industry is also a factor because you may realize that some industries may have some unique needs and challenges, and you cannot undermine those capacities when the industry needs technical aspect, I mean specialization. That means they have to operate according to the functions. They have to operate according to the areas. So that way you may design it not necessarily as a centralization, but as a functional or a divisional aspect. Employee skills and expertise, that is very key when you are recruiting to see who is suitable best for a particular position. The project or the activities is also considered. The communication, you have said it very well, because in any organization, the flow of the communication is very, very key. Because you realize that if the decision does not necessarily need to go to the top management, it can be completed at the lower functional level. Then the division may be more important, or a flat, or even a functional, than making it a centralized approach to decision making. Okay, so that the others just inform why they did what they did and how it relates to the cost. Is the last one, which I have said. I don't need to repeat that. Cost in everything is very true. So in other words, what we are saying here, when you're designing, you need to consider the benefits and the drawbacks. Don't just be excited, oh, let's have this and this and this. No, think of it. What are the consequences and the implications financially, so that you are doing things right, okay? There are different types of structures, as we said, that may depend on the cost, on the size, on the communication, on the functions, on the responsibility. So it is up to you to choose which best suits your business. And if you realize that you started small as a sole proprietor, but as time goes, you realize that you need more functions, you need more employees, then the structure can be redesigned. Change can come and you adjust accordingly, so that you have the right appropriate personnel who are able to execute the activities or the operations of the business efficiently. So these are the different types of structures. Commonly, we are familiar with the centralized and the decentralized. Those are very, very common, and you'll find them almost everywhere. Centralized, the decisions are top down. Decentralized, you realize that there is delegation of powers. You'll find more departmental line. It may find that all of them are operating almost on the same, and they have almost equal powers in relation to the collaboration and communication. Function is the same. That is based on the activities, and they are divided according to what are the needs or the goals and objectives. The division, that can also apply when you're talking at the size of the organization, and you may find them geographically or regionally or country-wise. So that can come in. The flat, that more or less is like a decentralized, whereby you realize the powers may not differ so much. And the matrix, it may be a mixture where you have different actors trying to work as more or less they are trying to figure out how to get the objectives done. Team, you know how it works because it is more applicable if you are focusing on a particular a project or a particular need or activity. Network, it means when you bring in a different, that may be the technical aspect, and you try to tap in whoever you think is essential in regards to the activities or the organization goals. So it doesn't matter, but you are trying to make sure that you are networking whoever will make it happen, but the decisions have also to go into the hierarchy approach, who has the control and the authority to make decision. The projector is, that is also a project aspect. In all this, what you have to understand what you have to understand are the benefits. Cost benefit analysis is very, very important as you think of the structure. And now this can also help you. I know you are doing interviews. Get into how is the organization structured? What benefit does that structure bring to the organization? And if there is a cost, how does the organization look at the way it is designed and how it effectively or how efficiently the organization is run in regards to achieving its goals and objectives? So you may not have to think into abstract. Start from where you are. Start from your company. Start from the organization that you are interested in. Start from the managers that you see what they are doing, and then you will be able to understand how all these are applicable and why the organization is capable of using this, or they just came up and or even they don't understand why they're using this, okay? So what we are trying to say here, all these are centralized except for the flat, the team, and the network. So all the others are kind of hierarchy in relation to the decision making. They don't have the powers except top down makes the decision. Regardless, they all report to who makes the decision. Yet when it comes to the flat, the team, the network, everybody's opinion matter. Everybody's decision is brought to the table, and they brainstorm to make sure that they come up with the best to be able to execute and achieve the set goals. But all the others, regardless of the designing, they are hierarchy, okay? So what do we need to know? Is to know what is best for your organization, is to know if it is cost effective, and to know how best you can implement and be able to execute and achieve your goals. So if that is all is done, I think we come to the end of the organization structure. We have basically talked about the beginning of the business plan. Why the business plan is needed? Because it is a map, a guiding map that drives you into what you are going to do. You need to make sure that you have a description. You have a skeleton which talks about how everything will look up, and that is a description. And you need to make sure that you really understand how is it going to be managed in regards to how leading, directing, planning, controlling, and the other functions. Then you need to design your management team. You need to ensure that in designing your management team, what are their responsibility? And those responsibilities can come out very clearly when you have a clear design structure. And that structure is a conceptual framework that drives the operation of the organization in regards to how to achieve its goals, mission, and objectives. So this brings you up to be able by next week to have completed those areas: the business description, the management team, and the organization structure. And once that is done, then we shall look at the next structure, well, the next part or the section, which will bring us to know what is the form of business that we need to operate. And if we know the form of business that we need to operate, who else is doing what we are doing in order to look at the competitive analysis and to determine where do we stand in regards to our strengths, weaknesses, and other threats as concerned for internal and external factor. So with this, I'm ending the discussion for today, and I ask that you take this with you to make sure that as you rest home, you make sure that you have started buffing things in, because before you know it, the 4 weeks will be over and you'll be handing in. Okay? Thank you. We are going to move into the next part, and that is the presentation of your theories. I have already put a provision for your upload report. Make sure that as you upload, you have the names of the members who participated in that project and their registration number written well and the date, so that it can be assessed and count as part of your coursework. Thank you very much. It is now back to you. I've been looking, trying to look at my sheet, which I wrote. I can't find it. There's so many papers here, but I would expect that at least each group, if you could take like 4 minutes, get us through what your theory is and critique it to help us understand in relation to business, what is its benefit, significance, or its limitation, and why should it be applicable if we are to use that in business. Thank you. Okay, should I get off and allow others to share? Or do you want me to bring that slide on? I now have from group 1 to 18. So if we can do that in the next 1.5 hours, we shall have done so well. Or 2 hours, please. Whoever is ready, just tell me this is group what. And whoever does not present also, it does not look bad, but it will have an implication. So which group is coming? Group 1, are you ready? Group 2?
Hello, sister, we are ready, but my computer is freezed here. I'm trying to connect.
Can we give other people a chance, whoever is ready? Yes. Group 2? Group 3? And if I miss you, please, I will go until when the line is finished. So group 1 frozen, group 2, group 3, thank you.
Good afternoon, members.
Good afternoon.
My name is Rita Nansereko. I will do the first presentation for group 3, then after Janet will take over, and then lastly Kenneth.
Make sure if you are all presenting, just be concise, okay? So that you do it in the minimum of 4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Our learning objective, we are looking at sociological theory. We'll look at the theory briefly, and then we look at benefits and then limitations of the theory. Sociological theory, we'll first break it into 2. We'll look at sociological, which is the study of social relations and systems. Then theory is a set of principles that help us to explain something about the world. Then when we combine it as a sociological theory, is a scientific study of society, social behavior, and relations among individuals within a social context. This sociological field seeks to understand how society is organized, causes and consequences of social change, individuals and group interaction with society. Then lastly, sources of inequality and social conflicts. It further has classification, as you can see. It is classified into two. We have classical sociological theory and the modern sociological theory. And under classical, we have, it is further divided into three, where we look at the structured functionalization, conflict, and symbolic interactionism. Under structure functionalism, it looks at society as a complex system which interconnects parts that work together to maintain the order. It emphasizes social structures. When we look at conflicts, please next slide. The conflict theory, according to Karl Marx, is a social theory that asserts that society is a state of perpetual conflict because of competition for limited resources. It emphasizes the role of power, cohesion, and competition in shaping social relations and structure. It looks at the inequalities based on class, race, gender, and other factors that contribute to social unrest and change. And then lastly, under that, we have symbolic interactionism. According to George Herbert, Mead believes that our thoughts, self-concepts, and the wider community we live in are created through communication. In this theory, we focuses on meanings attached to human interaction, both verbal, non-verbal, and symbols. I invite Janet to take us through the next theory. Thank you.
The modern sociological theories include the social exchange theory, which basically focuses on the exchange that occur in social relationships. In most cases, it looks how they help people to make decisions, especially in areas of innovation and entrepreneurship. Next, we have the feminist theory. This one basically is about gender, and it looks at the gender dynamics, discrimination, and power relationships. Basically, it critiques traditional notions of gender roles and highlights the ways in which gender affects decisions regarding innovation and maybe entrepreneurship. Next. And then we have the postmodernism theory. This one, basically, it looks at the impact of digital technology on identity and social interactions. Basically, it examines how social media platforms and online communities shape self-identity, relationships, and perception of reality. Thank you. I call upon Kenneth to take over.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gisha Kenneth, and I'm going to be taking you through the benefits of considering the sociological theories. The first one would be understanding consumer behavior. Sociological theories help businesses gain insights into consumer behaviors by understanding social norms, values, attitudes, and cultural trends. Business can tailor their products, services, and marketing strategies to better meet the needs and preferences for their target audience. Then market segmentation. These theories provide frameworks for segmenting markets based on social characteristics such as age, gender, income, lifestyle, and values. This segmentation helps businesses identify specific consumer groups and develop targeted marketing campaigns that resonate with each segment. Then cultural sensitivity. Sociological theories emphasizes the importance of cultural sensitivity in business operations. By understanding cultural differences, businesses can avoid cultural misunderstandings, adapt their products, services to local preferences, and build strong relationship with diverse customer base. As you can see, an example here, we have Kabaka Run, which is coming in next weekend. Employee relations theories. These theories offer insights into organizational behavior, workplace dynamics, and employee relationships. By applying sociological principles, businesses can create inclusive work environment, foster teamwork, address diversity issues, and improve employee satisfaction and productivity. Ethical consideration. These theories highlight the social and ethical dimensions of business practices. Businesses that consider sociological perspectives are better equipped to make ethical decisions, address social responsibility concerns, and contribute positively to the society. Competitive advantage. Remember, we are talking about the competitive advantage for Ronald. Incorporating sociological theories into businesses can provide a competitive advantage. Businesses that understand society trends, culture shifts, and consumer expectations are more adaptable, innovative, and capable of staying ahead of the market. Risk management. These theories help businesses anticipate and mitigate potential risks related to social, cultural, demographic factors. By analyzing social trends and behaviors, businesses can identify emerging risks, address consumer concerns, and proactively manage reputational risks. Policy and regulation compliance. Sociological theories inform businesses about society norms, legal framework, and regulatory requirements. So if this business of Ronald, where someone was selling human parts, they would use these theories to help them. Then lastly, I'm going to the limitations or challenges of using these sociological theories. Complicity and generalization. These theories often deal with complex social phenomena and may involve generalization about human behavior. For example, as
Okay. You're breaking, you can close it, you can summarize and then close, just conclude. That was Kenneth. And that was group 3. I think they have lost. Am I the one who has lost you, or we lost them?
We lost them.
We lost them, but I think they had given us a full kind of presentation in regards to the sociological theories. Basically, I think the third person has put it into perspective, because you come into businesses, you have these issues, and you make assumptions without getting the basis as to where these problems are coming from. So they have given you areas in regards to when you have an issue in the business, how you can employ the sociological approach in analyzing the issue and be able to come up with a better strategies to resolve those kind of problems. So group 3, thank you. Can you have to group 4 or group 1? Make sure you upload. I think you had a very good analysis. I like the third part. So if you bring into perspective, how does it relate to business, to entrepreneurship? That's basically what we need, so that you don't go deep into other things, but bring it into perspective, okay? Thank you. This is group what?
This is group 4, sister.
Go ahead.
I request the first present.
Thank you, Tom. This is Aruna Bennett. the economic theory. Those are the ones we look for. Economic theory of entrepreneurship. The economic theory of entrepreneurship is a branch of economic theory that specifically focuses on the role of entrepreneurs in an economy. The theory is trying to explain the relationship or connections that are existing between economic conditions and then entrepreneurial activity. The theory, according to the theory, the entrepreneur executes all activities with the economic incentives, like the taxation policy, the industrial policy, the sources of finance and raw materials, investment and marketing opportunities, and then the access to information. According to J.R. Harris, the inner drive of man is associated with economic gains, which drives him into economic gains as a precondition for the supply of entrepreneurs. That is an introduction to economic theory. I submit as a member the next slide.
Hello. Thank you, Manager Aluma. Allow me to take you through what is the economic theory of entrepreneurship. Additionally to the theory explorer, the theory explores how entrepreneurs identify and capitalize on market opportunities to create new values and generate profits. According to Kazna, a typical entrepreneur in arbitrage, the person who discovers opportunities at a lower price and sells them at a higher price because of the interplay and entrepreneurial demand. In summary, this theory proposes that the entrepreneurs are driven by economic reward and highlight specific incentives and opportunities that can encourage more entrepreneurial activities within the main aim of the theory being a profit motive. It also examines various principles and frameworks that analyze the role of entrepreneurs in the economy, such as identifying opportunities, allocating resources, taking risks, and creating value through innovation and business activities. Ultimately, this theory helps you to understand the economic impact of entrepreneurs' actions on market dynamics, growth, and developments. Thank you. I see it. Manager Tom, can you please take on, because Manager Robert is still, he has some network problems. You can go take us through this this next line and we'll see.
Yeah, thank you, Manager. The next slide is talking about why enterprises should use this theory. This theory is important because it helps enterprises identify the emerging market trends and customer needs and market gaps. This theory emphasizes the significance of entrepreneurs in driving innovation and technology progress. Embracing this theory also fosters the culture of creativity and continuous improvement within enterprises. It helps navigate competitive markets by recognizing the importance of entrepreneur behavior. Businesses can better position themselves to compete effectively. It is important also in that it assists enterprises in making well-informed strategic decisions concerning allocation of resources, product development, and management of risks within the enterprise. The theory also acknowledges the roles of risk-taking in the entrepreneur activity. In brief, those are the importance of why enterprises should use the theory. We can move on to the next presentation.
Is there a slide on that? Group 4.
The last
Manager
slide is
Robert?
on.
Manager Robert,
let me take the presentation on behalf of Manager Robert. The limitations of the theory. One, it has a limited scope of analysis. The has failed to provide satisfactory analysis of the role of entrepreneurship or its supply. The traditional model is a traditional model that treats the entrepreneurial function like a managerial function. The theory focuses too much on the actions of individual entrepreneurs and overlooks the broader economic, social, and institutional contexts that influence entrepreneurship. It neglects structural factors such as access to capital, regulatory environment, and market conditions, which significantly impact entrepreneurial activities. The theory often assumes that entrepreneurs have perfect information about the market and opportunities, which is unrealistic. It also fails to adequately address social and environmental impact of entrepreneurship, focusing primarily on the economic outcomes. I submit the next slide.
Sarah, give us the recommendations. Sarah.
Yes, please. Good afternoon. I'm taking you through the recommendations for using the economic theory. So in order to effectively use this theory, enterprises should consider the following recommendations. First, the enterprise should instill a culture that encourages employees to think and act like entrepreneurs. We know the ethics of entrepreneurs. They should be in position to identify opportunities that exist in the market, take calculated risk, and innovate in their different roles. So the next one is to provide resources and support for innovation initiatives and to create processes that enable employees to develop and test the new ideas that they've generated and reward innovative behavior. Next is to develop a risk management strategy that allows for calculated risk taking. So the enterprises should encourage employees to take risk in the pursuit of those opportunities identified, while also providing a safety net for potential failures. Then the next point is to emphasize the importance of creating value for customers and stakeholders, align business strategies and activities with a goal of creating meaningful and sustainable value. And the last point is to establish metrics and key performance indicators to measure the impact of entrepreneurial initiatives, and in order to regularly evaluate the effectiveness of entrepreneurial activities and make adjustments as required. Can you go to the next? So to conclude, the economic, yes?
Manager Robert is ready. Let him give us the conclusion.
Okay, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Robert Garanga here. So in conclusion, the economic theory asserts that entrepreneurs are driven by economic rewards and that certain incentives such as taxation policy and opportunities that can be used to encourage more entrepreneurial activity. So with the understanding of this theory, the businesses can have an opportunity to structure their environment in which they can operate to better incentivize and encourage entrepreneurship. Yeah, so this could mean implementing policies that can reduce the risk, provide more attractive financial incentives, and give entrepreneurs access to mentorship and resources. Thank you.
Good job. I think Group 4, you have done a tremendous job. You have thoroughly analyzed the theory in the way how you could do, even when you're doing your research, because in your research, you are asked to integrate theory in chapter 2, but most of you fail to know the applicability and implication of the theory. And that's what this group has done. Why do we need this theory? How can it be able to apply to solve the problem? And why is it that it is the best theory that we should need? So in other words, they are telling us to use this theory to look at your organization. You need to understand that you have started the business in order to create value and to have value. But how do you go about it? It helps you identify what is the key factors in relation to the resources, in relation to the opportunities, and the environment that you need to work in to ensure that you achieve your goals. And also it has clearly specified that in order to maximize the achievement of the goal, there has to be that entrepreneurial organization culture where everybody is trained or instilled to vary what they do as a way of seeing it into the business aspect. Because if it is not done that way, you start blaming, so not doing so, not knowing others don't even have a clue that this is an entrepreneurial business. They're just there for the to earn a living. And that's what this theory is telling us about. You have to look at it basically through that. And as you critique your theories, this is a level that is required when you are doing research. Thank you, Group 4. Let's get to the next group. Which is coming 5, 6, 7.
Group 1.
Be fast, please. I had even lost you. Try to be fast. Those first things, just summarize in one line, okay? Go ahead, Group 1.
We're explaining the psychological theory. We are 3 people, Mahamia, Tumwine, and me, Kasozi Remigius. So when they talk about psychological theory, there is no specific theory called psychological theory. However, the psychological theories are theories that are looking at human behavior and provide a basis basing on how people behave or entrepreneurs behave. Psychological theory states that certain attributes, certain attitudinal and psychological attributes differentiate entrepreneurs from non-entrepreneurs and successful entrepreneurs from unsuccessful ones. They include the achievement motivation paradigm. This is pioneered by David McClellan, and it states that the robust need for achievement is a core driver of entrepreneurs. These individuals possess a heightened desire to excel, setting ambitious goals and driving immense satisfaction from accomplishment. Then locus of control theory by Rota, which talks about entrepreneurs typically exhibiting an internal locus of control, believing their success or failure, which hinges on their own efforts and decisions. This sense of urgency empowers them to take initiative, demonstrate perseverance in the face of challenges, and adapt to dynamic environment. Then risk tolerance and propensity for risk taking. That entrepreneurial theorists that successful entrepreneurs exhibit a high risk tolerance compared to the general population. They adopt taking calculated risks, meticulously weighing potential rewards and downsides, and extracting valuable lessons from both triumphs and setbacks. Then the action theory. This mode underscores actions as the pivotal factor in entrepreneurship. While psychological attributes and environmental elements undoubtedly play a role, it is the entrepreneur's capacity to take action and translate ideas into reality that unlimitedly determines success. So this theory emphasizes significance of decisiveness, proactiveness, behavior, and the ability to learn from experiences. Then psychological capital theory by Fred Luthans. This theory centers on 4 key psychological resources critical for entrepreneurial success. That an entrepreneur to be successful, they need to have self-efficacy, hope, being optimistic, then positive outlook, optimism, and then resiliency. Another is social learning theory proposed by Albert Bandura, which emphasizes the importance of observational learning and modeling in the acquisition of entrepreneurial behavior. Individuals learn entrepreneurial skills, attitudes, and behaviors through exposure to role models, mental and social networks. Then the needs-based theory, which focuses on individuals' intrinsic motivation and needs that drive entrepreneurial behavior, which is well elaborated as Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Then goal setting theory, which emphasizes the importance of setting specific, challenging, and achievable goals in deriving entrepreneurial motivation and performance. So this looks at entrepreneurs as goal setters, and they work towards achieving those goals. Then self-competing theory, which talks about an entrepreneur looking at seeing themselves better each day, surpassing their prior visions. And then disagreeable theory. Disagreeable theory is not about being contentional, but it talks about an entrepreneur as someone with the ability to recognize when there is need to be divergent in an opinion and stand their ground when it is necessary. Nelson will come in and explain the limitations of the theories.
It's Tumwine Philip supposed to come.
Okay, Tumwine.
Okay. This theory has limitations. We shall start with overemphasis on individual traits. It overemphasizes on individual traits. These theories often focus heavily on individual characteristics, neglecting the significant influence of external factors like social background, access to resources. Then we have nature versus nature debate. These theories often struggle on definitely address. These theories often struggle to definitely address the age-old question of whether entrepreneurial tendencies are innate or bad. Then we have difficult in studying complex human behavior, whereby human behavior is influenced by a wide range of factors, including biology, culture, socialization. This makes it hard to study human behavior in controlled and systematic way. We have limited predictive power. Psychological theories don't guarantee entrepreneurial success. An individual exhibiting all the theorized traits may still encounter unforeseen changes or market disruption. They have challenges in measurement. These theories, it's hard in quantifying and measuring like psychological constructs, like for example, motivation or risk tolerance can be challenging. Then we have focus on established business. Many theories were developed by studying successful entrepreneurs, potentially overlooking the psychological makeup of those with unconventional approaches or those who fail. Then we have cultural bias, whereby some psychological theories may be skewed towards Western business cultures, potentially overlooking the unique psychological drivers of entrepreneur. I take this opportunity to invite the next presenter, which is Nelson. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. This is Nahamia Nelson, taking you through the importance of psychological theories. We will start with predicting prosperity. The theory helps in identifying personality traits and psychological attributes associated with entrepreneurs. This is very helpful in helping aspiring entrepreneurs and allowing them how in assessing the suitability of their abilities. This theory is also help educators and mentors leveraging on this knowledge to identify and support individuals with strong entrepreneurial skills. 2, understanding decision making. Of course, obviously, entrepreneurs are faced with many choices to make, from the market opportunities and navigating the risk. These psychological theories shed light on how entrepreneurs approach these decisions. Understanding these factors like risk tolerance, locus of control, and need for achievement can eliminate the thought process behind these critical choices. Building effective teams. Assembling a successful entrepreneurial team requires a diverse set of skills and personalities. Psychological theories can guide the selection process by helping individuals identify individuals whose psychological makeup complements each other, fostering a more balanced and effective team dynamic. Developing training programs. Understanding the psychological underpinnings of entrepreneurs allows for the creation of targeted training programs. These programs can equip emotional costers inherent in the entrepreneurial journey. Techniques for building resilience, managing stress, and fostering self-efficacy can be particularly valuable. The next one is enhancing self-awareness. Psychological theories can empower aspiring entrepreneurs by fostering self-awareness. By understanding their own psychological strengths and weaknesses, individuals can identify areas for personal development and tailor the entrepreneurial approach to maximize their chances of success. Lastly, informing support systems. By highlighting the psychological demands of entrepreneurship, these theories can inform the development of a better support system. This includes mentorship programs, networking groups, and mental health resources specifically designed to address the unique challenges faced by entrepreneurs. In conclusion, we are saying it is crucial to recognize that these theories are not mutually exclusive. Many entrepreneurs embody a confluence of these traits and motivations. The specific psychological makeup leading to successful entrepreneurship can also vary depending on the industry, type of venture, and individual circumstances. By understanding these psychological underpinnings, we gain valuable insights into the driving forces that propel individuals to embark on their entrepreneurial journeys. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you very much. I think you have put it right. I like the ending when you provide us the implication of the theory and the applicability of the theory. And when you say they are mutually, that is very key because usually when you look at these theories, you're trying to understand what are the issues, what are the problems, and the people who established these theories, basically they were dealing with human behavior. And they're trying to say what drives them to do what they do. And that's when you come about the different incentives, different motives. And then you recognize the limitation that it may focus on the human behavior in regards to motivation and forgets that there are other factors which may be indirectly indirectly affecting the performance or the behavior of the human being in any arena. And that's when you brought out to recognize the internal and the external. And the conclusion when you brought in that it is important to consider other factors, not only for the entrepreneurs, but also it brings in perspective, how is it affected when it comes to the environment, when it comes to the other factors which may be directly or indirectly. Those are the factors that you need to consider when you are looking at the industry, you are looking at the organization you are looking at, the society, all those are key. But the main element is the behavior. Behavior of the organization, behavior of the people, to understand what triggers and what needs to be done to make sure that you maximize. So the analysis is very good, but as you develop and incorporate this into your research for your dissertations, make sure that you provide who is the developer or initiator of the theory, and also try to show what studies were done in order to come up to see by looking at this and this is what they found. So for further in that aspect, you need this, okay? Thank you very much. But so far, so good. Group what? 5.
Yes. Good evening, class. Good evening, sister. This is group 5, and those are the members. My name is Auma Glandi.
Your theory is what?
Is a resource-based theory.
Thank you.
Okay, those are our learning objectives: understanding the genesis of resource-based theory, resources and their characteristics, explain the difference between tangible and intangible resources, and organizational capabilities, differences between resources and capability, and then limitations of the theory. Basically, this theory, the resource-based theory is also known as a resource-based view of the farm. It basically talks about, in summary, I said this theory talks about how the organization or how a business can identify the available resources within the organization or internal resources, and make the best use of these resources to achieve its objectives, stand competitive advantage, and maintain the sustainable and continuous operation. So briefly, this theory was found way back in around 1960s, 1970s by different scholars. Sampling them, I can just give Edith Penrose and then Kenneth Andrews, who began emphasizing on the significance of internal resources within the farms. The theory began to increase in the demand by 1984 by Bigger Wennerfeld, when he published a seminal paper entitled "Resource-Based View of the Farm." In recent years, the theory continues to evolve, incorporating the insight from fields such as strategic management, entrepreneurship, innovation, and organizational theory. The resource-based theories actually emphasizes on the importance of identifying and controlling the company's internal resources to derive innovation and create new opportunities. This theory tells the entrepreneurs that there is need to assess what resources are available within the organization and how they can be best utilized to support the entrepreneurial endeavors. The organizational resources refer to the assets, capabilities, and capacities that an organization possesses and can utilize to achieve its objectives and sustain its operations, as I explained earlier on. These resources include tangible and intangible resources. Tangible resources may be, these are physical resources like machineries, buildings, inventories, and so on. And intangible resources encompasses intellectual property, brand reputation, organizational culture, and knowledge, assets, and so on. These resources have characteristics as stipulated below. They are valuable and valuable resources. These are resources which enable a firm to capitalize on the opportunities or overcome threats in its environment. The resources should either improve the firm's efficiency or effectiveness. These resources should also be rare. For a firm to achieve its objectives or withstand a competitive advantage, it must be rare. The organization should have rare resources that are unique and relative to the competitors, that competitors are more likely to not to obtain it easily.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you pick her from there?
Yes. My name is Daiwa Everest. I think Bradley's network is not doing well. Let me take you through the limitation. I think the spelling is not right. One of them is the source should be difficult. The sources should be difficult for computers to imitate. Sorry about that.
You talk just virtually so that we can hear and cross it. Okay.
Okay.
Talk about the limitation and applicability, then recommendation. As the next
the word
group
is limitation. The word is not limitation, but limitation. The resources would be very hard to imitate if you are to have a competitive edge. Okay, and come back.
Please try to summarize so that we go to the next group. Just summarize, what are the limitations in regards to that theory?
The limitations include difficulty in identifying and measuring resources. Resources are very hard to identify and measure them. Then number two, overemphasize on resource-based of the organization. Then we have neglect of strategic decision-making process. Inability to explain performance differences in an organization. Then next.
So for your group who did the resource base, when could we apply this theory in a business perspective? What problems could get us to think that we need to conduct research using this theory?
It emphasizes, it looks at the resources the organization has in terms of the people, the human resource, the technology, the money.
What could be the problem? Can you tell me what problem could the organization have? And then they'll have to say, you know, now you're doing research. I think this is a problem and this is the theory that I need to employ in order to determine whether it is really the right approach or we are doing the wrong approach. What could be some of the problems? Research problem.
It could be on the issue of expansion, when the business wants to expand to different locations, or if you want to employ the resources he has in order to get the most efficient of them. That is when you can employ this one. You see what you have and what you want to do.
So can I come in?
Please.
I think one of the problems would be, let's say if we have a product and we have failed to get a market share. If we have also failed to compete favorably within the market, the organization could rely on the resource-based theory to utilize its available resources and concentrate its energies in having at least a competitive edge in a particular product, but specifically utilizing what is available to the organization.
Thank you. So in other words, what he's saying...
Excuse me, sister.
Yes, please.
I think, okay, I'm sorry, I had a network issue. I was cut off.
No, I think we are done with that section.
Okay.
Thank you. We are done with that
I wanted
section.
to say something. I wanted to say something in regards to what you were asking, that what could be the issue.
Go there, please.
Okay, resource-based theory talks about majorly an organization identifying the internal resources and making the best use of it to achieve its objective or to stand the competitive advantage. You find that you may have a challenge with the cost of production and then resources where you have to get resources from outside and so on. But you find that in some organizations, there are some resources which are really internally available that can be used to facilitate the operation of the business and then also to cut the cost of production and the cost of acquiring new materials. So it gives us the insight that before you go out or you spend out to look for resources from outside or spend outside, first make the best use of what you have before you go out.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. In regards to what the question was, I think the previous speaker had made a very clear approach. You are having a problem of maximizing your sales, your profits, and you are putting everything that you think could make your organization gain a competitive advantage to increase its market share or even to increase its profits by 25%, as you said, but you're not getting it. So the problem, you may start saying, oh, the workers are not doing their work, yet they are doing their work, but maybe the way you are trying to develop their capacity is not in line with what they are demanding to be able to perform. And that's where then you can look at the personnel. Or it could be that they're not tooled. They don't have the tools that are required to do it. Then you look at what you're putting in are the tools to make sure that is it the right tool that they are losing. Then you're looking at the equipment or everything. So in other words, if you're looking at either the performance or you're looking at the target you have set and you're not getting that target, rather than looking at just the personnel, looking at the management, looking at the structure, looking at the competences, look at resources in different perspectives. There are those which are tangible and intangible, and then focus there to make sure that what are the indicators of the resources you are looking at and how do you measure. In measuring, you're looking at the variables which are on the dependent side, which are the indicators which are going to say, this is the metrics in measuring performance in regards to the investment we have put in, the training we have put in, the recruitment of the new people we have put in, the outsourcing we have put in, then we should expect at least higher performance at least. So that's where the resources comes in to make sure that what are you looking at, what are the metrics, and how does it lead to the competitive advantage. So those are the things I expect. Put it into perspective rather than just explaining and defining the concept. Thank you very much. Next group, group 6. Group 6. If group 6 you are frozen, let's go to group 7.
Said you can introduce.
Please, time is money. We need to go.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Make sure you talk among yourselves. Who comes first? Don't start talking when you have projected. Be organized. Thank you. They are off. Can we have another group? Group 7, group 9, 8. Please, whoever is ready, just log on. This group is what?
Group 7.
And your theory?
Heterogeneous theory of demand.
Go ahead. Make sure you add registration numbers on the names of the people in your group when you're uploading. Okay?
Okay. My name is Rosemary Akelo. Heterogeneous demand theory traditionally has been identified as segments of consumers that are homogeneous with regard to the benefits they seek or in the response to marketing programs. For instance, product offering, they mainly look at product offering or price discounts. It's a branch of economics that focuses on understanding consumer behavior and preferences by recognizing that consumers differ from each other in their tastes, preferences, and constraints. The demand theory also points out that firms with a particular industry do not offer homogeneous products at a market-dictated price. Rather, they actively market products by distinguishing them to appeal to particular groups of buyers and often with the intention of sustaining a price premium over market norms. Some of these assumptions are supposed to hold in order for the heterogeneous theory to be in place. The first one being diverse preferences. Consumers have varied preferences and tastes for goods and services due to the factors such as cultural background, experiences, income levels, and personal values. So these differences result in variations in the demand for different products. Income disparity. Differences in income levels among consumers lead to variations in purchasing power and demand for goods and services. We see that people that earn higher income may demand luxurious or premium products, while those that have a lower income may prioritize essential goods or opt for cheaper alternatives. Geographical variation. The demand theory can vary based on geographical factors such as location, climate, population density, and local preferences. For instance, certain products may be more popular in urban areas compared to rural areas due to lifestyle differences. Then we have demographic factors as one of the assumptions to make this hold. For instance, variations in age, gender, education, and family size influence consumer preferences and demand patterns. Different demographic groups may distinct needs and preferences, leading to heterogeneous demand for products targeted at specific segments. Then we have product differentiation strategies, which include branding, packaging, features, and marketing, create diversity in consumer choices and preferences. So consumers may perceive differentiated products as offering unique benefits, leading to variations in demand based on individual preferences. Technology advancement is another assumption. This may include development of e-commerce, social media, and personalized advertising that allows companies to tailor their products and marketing strategies to specific consumer segments, further making this theory to hold. And then lastly, the cultural and social influences, such as cultural norms, social trends, and peer influences, which shape consumer behavior and preferences. So products associated with particular lifestyles, values, or social status may appeal to specific consumer segments, resulting in heterogeneous demand. I call upon Agnes to take on from the factors.
Thank you. Thank you, Rose. Next slide, please. Is it my network?
We don't see the next slide.
Okay. I will
Please,
handle the factors.
whoever is displaying may move the slides. Okay.
I am handling the factors that affect the heterogeneous demand theory. This one is individual preferences. The theory acknowledges that consumers have different tastes and preferences. What appeals to one consumer may not appeal to another, leading to a variation in demand for different goods and services. The next point, utility maximization. Consumers aim to maximize their utility, but their utility functions can vary significantly. Some consumers might prioritize price, others quality, while some may seek a balance between the two. Thus, there is no one size fits for all utility function. Income and substitution effects. Changes in prices or income affect consumers differently due to their unique preferences. The income effect and substitution effect can vary among consumers, leading to diverse response to price changes. Then we go to market segmentation. The theory suggests that market can be segmented based on consumer preferences. This segmentation can be based on demographics, geographical location, or psychological characteristics. Product depreciation. Firms can exploit heterogeneity in demand by offering differentiated products to cater to various preferences. Product depreciation strategies can range from brand to customization. Next slide, please. Rose.
If you have what to say, just say it.
Okay.
For the next slide, so that informs us of what is happening.
Wealth analysis. Understanding heterogeneous demand is crucial for wealth analysis and policy making. Policies designed to address market failure or improve social welfare must consider how different consumers will be affected. Empirical challenges. Empirical analysis of heterogeneous demand pose challenges due to the need to capture and quantify individual level preferences accurately.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sister.
In regards to what your discovery is, what
Okay,
some of
sister.
the problems could lead to usage of this in research? For example, you are conducting research and it requires you to use this theory. Can you help us get there? What are the problems of the business?
We have that was our next slide.
Get there,
Applicability
just
and
get
then
there. Whoever is
Okay.
in, get there. We don't need to waste time there. So that wrap it up in a summary to bring us a research question and show how this theory is applicable.
The next presenter, please.
Thank you, Agnes. I'm going to present the applicability of the theory. Number one, it helps in product design and development. By incorporating insights from consumer heterogeneity, firms can innovate products with varied features, designs, and functionalities to cater to different market segments effectively. Then secondly, it's applied in marketing and advertising. Heterogeneous demand theory informs marketing and advertising strategies aimed at reaching specific consumer segments. Marketeers can tailor promotional messages, advertising channels, and branding approaches to resonate with the preferences and values of different target audiences. Segmentation helps marketeers identify lucrative market segments and allocate resources efficiently.
Sharita.
Then pricing and revenue.
Sharita.
Yes, sister.
Did you hear what I asked? Everything said is right. But I would be very grateful if a group comes in and say our research problem is, and in order to understand where the problem is coming, we are going to use this theory to examine A, B, C, D. Our business is suffering from losing so many. So for that purpose, we need to examine this and this and this in order to understand whether we are doing it right. Any other person can help me with that. Because I don't want just to explain. I want you to put these things in perspective. What is the research problem? Francis. I don't know whether you understand what I asked. You do? So why could the business use that theory? Or why could you use this theory in your research? For example, you are conducting research for completion of the program. Why would you employ this theory? If I'm to ask that question.
To identify the different tastes and preferences for the customers.
Okay.
To identify the different tastes and preferences and be able to brand or differentiate your products according to the customer's tastes and preferences.
Okay. So in summary, go to the recommendation.
The recommendation, one is use of advanced analytics. Employ analytics techniques such as machine learning and big data analytics to extract meaningful insights from large and complex data sets. These techniques can help identify patterns in consumer behavior, segment markets effectively, and make more accurate predictions about demand dynamics. Then we have integration of behavioral economics. incorporate insights from behavioral economics into heterogeneous demand models to account for deviations from traditional rational choice assumptions. By recognizing the influence of behavioral biases on consumer decision-making, economists can develop more realistic and robust models of heterogeneous demand. Then we have longitudinal studies. Conduct longitudinal studies to track changes in consumer preferences and behaviors over time. Longitudinal data allows researchers to observe how preferences evolve in response to various stimuli, enabling better forecasting and strategic planning. Then we have policy interventions. Design policy interventions that promote competition, consumer empowerment, and transparency in markets characterized by heterogeneous demand. Measures such as antitrust enforcement, consumer education initiatives, and regulatory oversight can help mitigate market distortions and protect vulnerable consumers. Then we have stakeholder engagement. Foster collaboration and knowledge sharing among economists, policymakers, industry stakeholders, and consumer advocacy groups. By engaging stakeholders from diverse backgrounds, researchers can gain valuable insights into real-world market dynamics and develop more contextually relevant theories and policy recommendations. I submit, Sister.
Thank you very much. My question is to put it into perspective for other members. In this business environment where there is so much changes globally, and you realize that there is so much tight competition, the trend in the industry is changing. There's so much of the substitutes, there is so much of a supply, there is so much of rivals. Those could be factors that could impact your organization not to perform as expected. So if you realize that there is so much of everything and they are trying to do almost the same thing, what you need to do is to look at the different factors, and that's where the demand and supply, you can use that as a way to determine whether the preferences have changed or the suppliers have also changed so that you cannot negotiate anymore, or you can even look at the demographics to see where are your products needed or what are the preferences for your products or services. So these are the things that you need to put into perspective to see that what is driving the change in the business sector. And talking about the business sector, that's when you're talking about the market segment, you're talking about the target market, you're talking about your niche, you're talking about competitors analysis, you're talking about the industry analysis. And then in that way, you are able to do the research, which will help you to know, is it the change of the consumer behavior? Is it the change of the the government policies? Is it the technology? What is it that is making your business not perform? And then you put the theory into perspective, because there are so many other factors, but you may be looking at only one thing, and you may not forget that there are other direct or indirect. And all this applies to the research you are doing, because most of you are doing research, but you come up with theories which are somehow relevant or irrelevant, and you can't even explain them. And these are the things which we look for when you are critiquing and analyzing your theories. It's not just a matter of putting how good you say, but how applicable. Thank you. Next group, please.
Hello, good afternoon, members. It is raining quite heavily here, but I hope you can be able to hear me. Ours is group 8, and we are going to discuss the exposure theory.
We are listening.
Those are the members of the group, and I would like to invite JB straight away to take us through the overview of the theory.
Thank you, Benjamin. I maybe expand the screen, but as it does that, according to Buddy and Buddy, exposure theory mentioned that exposure to new ideas and opportunities leads to innovation.
Good.
And creativity thus creates factors like risk bearing, religious belief, need for achievement, motivation, education. Tri-party observed that exposure to new ideas and values and creativity and innovation influence new venture creation. And these factors were key between the Parsi and Hindu entrepreneurs, which led them to entrepreneurship. Exposure options such as family background, work experience, social networks entice high entrepreneurship since they increase familiarity, they reduce perceived risk, and also likelihood of pursuing page, the next page. Can you proceed to the next slide? Yes. Yeah, so here we demonstrate how the factors that are referred to above influence that young entrepreneur into the new ideas and opportunities. And then finally, you go into a new venture. I think in Uganda here, we have examples of very many second generation companies like the Murwanas. There are quite several of them that are now trying to take on from their previous exposures. Yeah, so I invite the next presenter on the next part. Proceed from there. James?
Thank you, JB. This is Mwesugwa James taking you through the core concepts of the theory. And we begin with the repeated exposure. So according to the theory, individuals who are repeatedly exposed to entrepreneurship-related stimuli, such as entrepreneurial roles, models, success stories, education programs, and entrepreneurial environments, are more likely to develop positive attitudes and intentions towards the entrepreneurship. And this is mostly demonstrated with the Indian community in business management. Then we have positive attitude and perceptions. Exposure to entrepreneurship can shape individuals' attitude, perceptions, and beliefs about entrepreneurship, making it seem more attractive, feasible, and desirable as a career path and venture opportunity. We have normalization and entrepreneurship. Through repeated exposure, entrepreneurship becomes normalized and integrated into individual social culture context, leading to greater acceptance and entrepreneurial behavior and identity within the society. We have role modeling and social learning, which stresses that exposure to successful entrepreneurs and role models can serve as social cause and learning opportunities for aspiring entrepreneurs, providing inspirations, guidance, and confidence to pursue entrepreneurial endeavors. Here I can give you an example of one of the lectures where Mr. Patrick Vitature said his engagement and working relationship with Mr. Sudhir Paleria enabled him to dive into the businesses through encouragement and role modeling. Another one is risk reduction of risk aversion. Exposure to entrepreneurship related experiences and information can help reduce individuals' risk aversion by increasing their familiarity and comfort levels with entrepreneurial activities, uncertainties, and challenges. I submit.
Thank you, James. I can take it up from there. Looking at the factors that contribute to the exposure effect, we identified 4 of them. The frequency of exposure. The more somebody is exposed to something, then the more likely they are to develop a preference for it. Then also the duration of exposure. If somebody is exposed to something for a long time, then it is likely to become part of them. Variability of exposure to stimuli can also enhance the effect, and the influence of social factors, let's say like role models. If somebody has got a role model, they will tend to act like those role models. The benefits of this theory have definitely been hinted upon, but I would like to concretize these 6 of those. The first one being the predictive value. Exposure to entrepreneurship can be a significant predictor of entrepreneurial intentions and behaviors. Then also the development of the skill of entrepreneurship can result from much exposure of individuals to valuable skills, knowledge, and networks that are beneficial for entrepreneurial endeavors. My colleague has hinted about risk reduction, and I would like to re-echo that. The more somebody is exposed to a certain business trait, the more likely they are able to mitigate and put up with the perceived risks of the businesses. Then also cultural influence. Exposure to entrepreneurial role models and environments can shape cultural attitudes towards entrepreneurship. There are certain cultures here in Uganda that we have that are fond of a certain business. Like our friends from the West, it's very rare to find a family without cattle. And I think that is because of much exposure to their parents as role models. Then somebody can be able to thrive on the past acquired skills and competencies as a result of much exposure, which can also aid business growth. This theory can also lead to social learning, where we learn from one another, and these organizations can thrive on this through entrepreneurship, that employees can learn from their entrepreneurs and be able to boost this business performance by applying entrepreneurial skills. I would like to invite Pamela to take us through the limitations of this theory.
Thank you, Benjamin. Good evening, class, and good evening, Dr. Marie.
Good evening.
The limitation we cited 2 of them, and the first one, there is limited knowledge concerning the exposure theory in development stages because of the literature ambiguous. You find that the literature that is available normally does not maybe give what it should give to people that are being exposed. It is limited. Then another one, ignoring individual differences, despite the fact that people have this different characters and traits. So the exposure theory tries to ignore the different personalities of the people. Then there is overemphasis on prior exposure. We all know that while exposure to entrepreneurship can be influential, it may not be the dominant of the entrepreneurship behavior. other factors may come into play. For example, we have the environment, the society in which people live, and also the traits of different characters and people. Then there is also lack of causality. While exposure to entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial intentions are correlated, the causal relationship it is challenging to establish whether exposure directly leads to entrepreneurship behavior. Then there is limited scope as to ascertain as how exposure fully captures the complexity of entrepreneurship decision-making. And then lastly, we have the influence of direct exposure, whereby there are views that the theory neglects accounts for influence of direct exposure. Like, and more especially, you find people who are exposed, people will have bias to people who think to be knowing more. I think that is what it tries to mean. Next page.
Let us invite Innocent to take us through the recommendations. Thank you very much, Pamela.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Benjamin. Good evening, managers and sister. I'll be taking you through the recommendations. We have 4 of them. Number 1, contextual consideration. Take into account the cultural, social, and economic context when applying exposure theory. Exposure theory to new, it exposes us to new ideas and opportunities that leads to innovation, creativity, thus creating the new enterprise. Therefore, entrepreneurs should dig deeper to finding out more about nurturing while looking for factors like risk-bearing capacity, religious beliefs, need for achievement, motivation, and economic factors, and educational history. Number 2, holistic approach. Here you recognize the exposure to entrepreneurship is just one of many factors influencing entrepreneurial behavior. Consider integrating exposure theory with other theories and frameworks to develop a comprehensive understanding of entrepreneurial dynamics. Despite lacking previous interface with entrepreneurship, the theory lacks more practical evidence and will require further research into business administration and other fields outside the discipline of education. Number 3, targeted interventions. Develop targeted interventions to increase exposure to entrepreneurship, especially among the unrepresented groups or regions with limited entrepreneurial ecosystems. This can include entrepreneurship education programs, mentorship initiatives, and networking opportunities. So organizations should borrow the tenets of this theory to cause more creativity and business development. Then lastly, longitudinal studies. Conduct longitudinal studies to examine the long-term effects of exposure to entrepreneurship on entrepreneurial outcomes. This can provide insights into causal mechanisms underlying the relationship between exposure and entrepreneurial behavior. Next. Conclusion. Overall, the exposure theory of entrepreneurship provides valuable insights into psychological mechanisms and social processes that influence individuals' attitudes, perceptions, and behaviors towards entrepreneurship. By understanding the role of exposure in shaping entrepreneurial intentions and actions, stakeholders should design interventions, policies, and initiatives to foster a more entrepreneurial society and economy.
Thank you very much. Innocent, I submit back to Sister.
Basically, what you can see from this theory is trying to say that in everything that you do, entrepreneurship can be developed from different mechanisms. And here they are trying to show you that creating an environment creating an environment which can excite, interest, or help people develop entrepreneurship is important. But also it recognizes that exposure alone is not enough to get people into entrepreneurship. There are other factors that you need to consider, but it is one way of bringing in innovation and to make sure that people get to look at entrepreneurship as a way which can help organizations to do what? To improve or to achieve their goals. So when you think about this, now you have to bring it into perspective where you can be doing each and everything. You have given them training, you have even given them new systems, you have done them ABCD, but things are not really working. And you may be asking, what is the problem with these people? What is the problem? So what they are trying to show you, expose them, because just giving them, training them, there are different ways how people can learn to do things and how they can. That's where they say different senses have to be fully utilized. So this is where exposure is very key. And I can relate to it very, very well. For me, my capacity to develop entrepreneurship, I think it is based on exposure. In comparison to what others saying, it helps me to kind of liberate myself from the culture, from the background that I came from, even to have a different way of how I look at life. So it is like even it has come to the level when there are risks. I take risks as normal because I have experienced a lot of kind of challenges in regards to the different businesses that I handle or manage. So when a loss happens, I just take it normal and I say, well, I have lost enough of it. This is not, life has to continue. So whatever it is saying is true. We have to be exposed in order to make it part of our life. Otherwise, if not, people have that kind of background, have that kind of the mental system, they have that kind of the attitude. So we have to work into all that cycle to ensure that we change the behavior to make them molded into what we want them to become if we are. And that's where when you think about the new curriculum, which is for lower secondary, where even in universities, we are trying to give students so many programs, entrepreneurship, doing what, and even you realize what the government is doing, putting money, people start jobs. That's not enough. People are not exposed. They need to get to see, they need to get to hear, and even to touch. But you wonder how many people get to these kind of shows, trade fair, which take place, and then talk to those people, relate to those people, and even understand for them to feel like, yes,